The views and opinions expressed on this platform are of me, myself, and I, not any agency I'm affiliated with. So please do not take what I say personally. Live from Logan Bergeron's kitchen. We have a different setup today, kind of going on like if you've never worked in EMS, kind of like a crew change conversation. We're doing like a round table discussion. I have myself, Alexis Hardwick, Dwayne P, and Logan Bergeron. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, then we'll go ahead and get into our discussions.
I'll go first. My name's Dwayne P. I've been a paramedic for almost 5 years. Been CCT for about 3. That's critical care, for those who don't know. And I got into EMS right out of high school, so this is the only job I've ever had.
My name is Logan Bergeron. I've been a paramedic at the same time as Dwayne. We both went to school together about 5 years. I am non-CCT, and I started EMS about a year after high school, around 2016.
Very good. I've only done this for about a year and a half, so a little bit more experience at the table than myself, but we can just go with it. The premise of this podcast, I kind of wanted to do, like I said, a roundtable Q&A. I had some listeners and general public, I guess you could say, feedback for questions and stuff like that, just to kind of get different inputs into different questions. And I think we'll have a lot of good answers. I think it's going to be a good setup. Maybe we could do a part 2 later on down the future. Who knows? We'll see what the future brings. Starting off from the bat, from the get-go. First question, Logan and Dwayne. What is one call that you felt like you truly saved someone's life?
I'll start. There's one call that comes to mind for me. I was just starting out as a paramedic, so I was probably a couple months in. I got dispatched out to a very, you should say, rural area out there in the sticks for a patient who was pale, cool, diaphoretic. The call notes were just that she's weak and dizzy and sweating a lot, very pale. We get on scene, walk into the house, firefighters are there. They just got me a basic set of vitals. Pulse ox was like, I think it was mid 80s. Her blood pressure was low, it was in the 80s. And she didn't look great at all. So I went ahead and put her on my monitor. Noticed that her pulse rate was, I think it was 35, and the pressure I gotten was the pressures that I got were around 60s, 70s systolic. We moved her to the back of the unit. I attempted to start a line because I was going to try and give atropine first. I was going to work my way up through the algorithm. And then I realized I couldn't get a line. And due to her being symptomatic, I started pacing her, which actually benefited the patient very well. Our air company, the part of our company is the air helicopter. I don't know what else to say. The flight crew landed, and they paused my pacer, which at that point I was, like, oh man, did I blow this call? No, the
Flight crew, man, flight crew.
The flight paramedic paused the pacer just to see what the rhythm was. We both realized it was a complete heart block. So as you know, the atropine probably wouldn't have worked. You realized
at that point? I'm joking.
You're like, yeah, it is. So he agreed with my pacing. He unpaused the pacer, and they flew her out to heart. Oh, God, dude.
A hospital that has specific cardiac capabilities.
Yeah, there we go. A facility that can handle cardiac issues. And
it's about an hour out.
Yeah, and that was about it. That one made me feel really good, actually. And then, after the calling the flight crew, talking to the flight paramedic, asking him, as a brand new medic, I was asking him what I could have done better, yada yada. And he agreed with my treatment course, and he thought I did a great job, and that made me feel, it validated me as a brand new paramedic.
Logan, what you got?
Oh well, There's a few calls, I guess, or a couple actually. One that really stands out is we had got dispatched to a cardiac arrest, and I believe the guy was in his late 30s, maybe early 40s, and he had a history of CHF. And I never got any confirmation whether or not he actually lived or not, but felt really good about it. When we got on scene, family had initiated CPR after dispatch gave instructions, and first responders were about a minute or two out from the house. So when they got on scene, they threw some paddles on them. They said the AED advised one shock. They were bagging them, CPR. We get there about maybe less than 5 minutes later, and my partner I was working with at the time, we had been working together for a while. She was really great. She dropped the King tube. I had gotten an IV. It was probably one of the smoothest codes I've ran ever. And we were on scene for about maybe 10, 12 minutes. We got Rosk, and he was kind of breathing against the King tube when we got him back. Shipped him out to the local hospital where I think he was flown on a vent to one of the bigger hospitals in the next city over. And he was really bucking the tube with them on the propofol drip. So I'd say things looked really good, but like I said, no confirmation. The thing that really stood out, though, for that call that I'm really hoping things went really good was that when we walked in, I noticed on his hand he had a hospital bracelet. So I asked the family, did he just get discharged from a hospital and if so, what was the discharge diagnosis, or what was he in there for? And they actually pointed to some baby carriages and diapers and bottles and stuff that was on the counter, and he had actually literally that day just got back from the hospital with I believe it was his wife, with their newborn. So yeah,
no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. I was like, well, great. So that was one that really meant a lot. And like I said, I think the outcome was really good, but I never really got any follow-up, unfortunately.
Do you guys feel like it's not so much the pride that we get from the things that we did, but knowing that the skills that we've studied in paramedic school and the things that we learned along the way, those are the things that help us feel more accomplished in the call? So like mine is this guy, he was playing golf that morning. He's like 80 something, 70 something. Playing golf that morning, drove himself to the golf course, started to, quote, feel a little funny, drove himself home, called 911. This dude's in straight SVT. Cardioverted him on the way to the hospital. Great work. Job well accomplished. But it's not so much the pride that you get from the call of like, hey, I did that thing, but it's that outcome. Do you guys feel like that kind of segueing into our next question? Do you feel like that's what keeps you motivated in the job? Because we all have those BS calls where it's like 20-something-year-old calls at 1 o'clock in the morning because stomach pain. And it's nothing. And that's not what's going to keep you going for the next 3 years in this career. But it's those little glimpses of like, hey, because I've studied, because I am proficient in my skills, I did this thing. And it's not about me, but it's about at the core of this job and what we do, helping either save someone's life or in some cases even prolong death.
Yeah, I agree totally.
I agree. Working in this job, like you said, you're going to have those days where you run the absolute lamest calls. When I say lame, it's the toe pains, the tooth aches, where you tell them maybe you should talk to your dentist, and they're like, oh, I'm going to go to the ER. Things like that. It's that aspect of, we did train for, we all went to paramedic school. It was about a year of our lives were dedicated to P class. And we learned all these skills. It was stuffed, it was crammed, yada, yada. And you actually get out there, and between waving through all the bull crap, you have these, every now and then you have these little droplets of, I call it hope. It keeps you from being burnt out. It's, I decompressed this patient and they needed it, and there was a great outcome to it. Or I intubated this patient that needed it. Using those skills, saving those people, whatever. it makes the job 10 times better, in my opinion. And it keeps you going, keeps you moving forward in the job.
Yeah, another big thing too, and I don't know if you had mentioned that about how with that call you were talking about how the flight crew had complimented you. I think they even had like sent out an email or something.
Yeah.
They did like a little bit of follow up and just complimented you about.
Right, and that's another thing that'll keep you. And I'm not saying this job you have to be this cocky, confident person, but there are days. I mean, me and you, we worked in the same area for the same amount of time. We would call each other, after we ran a call, be like, ah, man, I botched this call. We talk about it, we go over it, and you would learn from those things. And having people that have been doing this for a while when you're brand new or whatever, and they reach out to you and they say, hey, you did a phenomenal job. Mm-hmm. That means a lot, and I think that pushes you to be better, to be the better version of yourself.
Yeah, no. Whenever physicians, nurses, flight crews, management, they all send an email or they just, tell you in person how you did a good job or what you did good on, give you some follow-up. It's really great. Good confirmation.
Yeah. It really validates our, what we do. It validates who we are and what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you always get that in paramedic school. It's like you run the scenario and it's like, all right, great work. This is what you need to do next time. Remember this, blah,
right.
blah, blah. And then you get in the field and you do your patient handoff and it's like, all right, so,
Yeah, but just put them in the lobby.
Yeah. Well, take out the IV too.
Yeah. 14 gauges. Bilateral.
You got 2 14s each, EJ. Take them out.
Kind of on the why do you love being a paramedic, what would you say is why you hate being a paramedic?
Well, let me start with that one. I always say this. So I don't hate being a paramedic. I just kind of hate EMS. And it's not it's just the nature of the beast. Like, it's whenever you're supposed to get off an hour before your crew change time and you're in a whole another city that's 130 miles away from your base station. That sucks. Whenever it's pouring down outside and you're in a ditch somewhere just trying to get somebody out of a vehicle, that sucks. Getting off late, when your relief is running a little late and you get that late call, that sucks. Just those things. It's those little things like that. The constant running on the road, trying to find a restroom in the middle of nowhere, trying to get a bite to eat in. Those things. I wouldn't necessarily say I hate being a paramedic. I think it's more of just like sometimes you doubt yourself a little bit, but then like Dwayne said, you have your friends that you can call on and you can kind of.
There are glimmers of hope, but I agree with you. I don't hate being a paramedic. I mean, I agree. Getting off late long distance transports, late bull calls. Like I said, the toe pains, and you're about to crew change, and it's been a long night. I also don't like the sitting on the side of the road. That's one thing I really can't. Because I can't relate. Especially the company that I work for, there is something like a rolling coverage, and there's this thing where we can sit on the side of the road for 12 hours or be in the truck for 12 hours at a time, and that, Jesus. I think that takes a toll on someone's body. But another thing that I don't like is and this is not coming from like a pride thing, this is coming from like a cocky thing. I don't like the general public's perception of what it is to be an EMS provider. I think that they think, because I can't tell you how many times I've walked into houses and I've spoken to these people, and it's, I'm trying to get a medical history, and I'm trying to get, I'm trying to understand what's going on so that I can relay that to the hospital, and in a way that doesn't sound like I'm, dumb. And these people will be like, I don't want to talk to you. They'll be like, just take me to the hospital. Mm-hmm. Your job is to drive me. And I get it. And it is my job to get to the hospital. I understand that. But, I wish that they would understand that, hey, we have a job too. We were trained to sit here. We were trained.
Especially the public calls where you're...
Because when you're at EMT school, the biggest thing they're teaching you about is assessment. You go to paramedic school, they expand on that. Your assessment becomes so much larger with so many different tools. And to have that almost crapped on by the general public, and it's not everybody. It's a select few, and and I understand. Usually when we come pick you up, it's the worst day of your life, and you don't want to sit there and talk to. I mean, me, like the shaggy-haired, bearded fool that I am. You don't want to talk to me, at 3 a.m. when you're having chest pain. But that's the one thing is I just wish that they would. I wish that people would understand that, hey, we have some education, we have some knowledge in this field. That's my one thing I don't like. That I wish I could change.
Especially when you're out in the public, you're on those calls in public, and everybody's just staring at you and just wondering why you're not,
Right.
Which I think a lot of people's perceptions of that have changed recently with the Damar Hamlin.
That's what I was going to
That
exactly,
thankfully kind of shed some light on how we do things and why. And I think for the most part, the media did a good job of kind of explaining, and not
seeing how
crapping
people
on us.
reacted to watching someone get CPR performed on them and like freaking out about it. Dude, you could perform CPR in the back of a gas station, and then after it's done, you call it. You're walking over eating a glizzy at the gas station. Next thing you know, it passes your mind. It's so common in this field.
Yeah. But another thing about being a paramedic for anybody that's new out there is the stress part. A lot of people that's not really ever discussed at all. But there will be periods of time where, as a paramedic, you're just going to go through these downhills where you're just going to get really burnt out and stressed out, and I think that's not discussed enough. Take time for yourself. Just find things to decompress, whatever that may be, and talk to people.
I think talking is one of the most therapeutic things you can do in this job. Speaking with people
especially with fellow, like me and you,
right.
Calling each other after those calls,
like
things like that.
Right, me and you, we would call it. I mean, it must have been every legit call, every bull call. We'd call each other. It was every night because we worked the same exact shift, the same exact area pretty much. We worked in one town over. And, I mean, we would call each other, 3-4 times a night. Yeah, and I tell you, we worked a long week. We were calling each other, every day, multiple times. But that's because you do something stupid on a call, you call somebody you went to P class with, because me and Logan, like you said, we went to P class together. You call them, you tell them what you did stupid, you laugh about it, because look, sometimes,
and you learn.
Right, you learn. you laugh and you learn. And I think at the end of the day, I think we each contributed to becoming better medics.
Yeah, definitely.
Just from having that diffusion time, that time to just diffuse from what we did. And I do think that is one of the best parts about this job.
Yep.
Do you feel like, okay, so kind of on that idea with talking with fellow providers, it can get a little negative. Do you guys feel like that's therapeutic? Because sometimes when I'm just going off about either a frequent flyer that we have or going off about something with management, sometimes it is a little therapeutic, but it does get a little toxic.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's more so venting, like you just, I don't know. Yeah, I know. I get where you're coming from. I see that.
No, yes, I think it can be toxic, but I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not the guy that's not. I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk smack, dude. When I run that frequent flyer, I'm going to walk in the station and I'm going to talk smack about that person.
Flip the couch.
Yeah, and you know what? That's I think I do think yes, it can be toxic, but me walking in there just to talk to the next person I'm relieving and say, hey man, this what called, man, and this what, and this and that, and they like I've said validate like 4 times in this podcast. They validate me, go, yeah, that person, that I like that. That is that retort that I want. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But yes, it can get toxic, and we should probably try to be more positive in the job.
Yeah, I don't know how to really fix that, really. I mean,
nah.
Besides
better pay.
For any management out there listening,
I'm sure it's easy to be a doctor and run the bull calls. You get compensated well. We don't, so we're gonna talk, dude.
Crap.
It's hard, man. That's what people, I feel like the general public looks at this job and they're like, oh my gosh, like I get told sometimes by my family members not in EMS, like I don't know how you do this job. It's so hard. It's not that it's so hard every single shift, and we're preventing the Grim Reaper from pulling these souls from Earth. It's not like it's that. It's just kind of like what Logan's saying, the wear and tear on the body, and just the idea of like, this is every single shift. It's either wear and tear on the body, or it's people that really shouldn't be calling 911 that are, and you can't punish anybody because they call 911. You can't be a whole grouch butt to them, because that's not fair to them. Like,
You can educate them.
and you should, otherwise they will keep calling 911.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's how we make our money.
I mean, well, also though, I mean, you got to tell them when you're there for the third time today that you're not getting their remote and fixing a glass of ice water and putting their slippers on, and putting some dog food.
Hey, look, as long as you're signing
in the
this
bowl,
refusal, I'll make you dinner. Right? I'll buy you dinner.
No.
So one of the hardest things I feel like I had to learn becoming a medic was like that moment of when you have to be stern, kind of like that moment of recently. It was the call of, man, we have a job to do right now. It was this lady who called for shortness of breath. We get there and it's partially anxiety, partially asthma, and she is struggling. And so we're trying to start and albuterol, duoneb. We're trying to give her Solumedrol IM, like do a whole bunch of things all at once. And she put her on oxygen, and she keeps like grabbing my shirt. She's like, take me to the hospital. Take me to the hospital. And I had to look at her and be like, ma'am, I have a job to do right here and right now. And I hated every second of it because I don't do the stern thing. But people, kind of like what we talk about, people are starting to see that, like, just because it's shown on TV that we just load somebody up and we burst in the ER giving a handoff report from the get-go of like, oh, this is an 80.
Yeah, nobody's waiting at the ER bay door. Like, doctors are not.
No, they make us sit there,
gowned up, waiting for you to open up the back doors and
in
immediately
silence
just start. Yeah.
While they triage the patients.
Yeah, no.
And they look down upon us. So that's what they do.
Yeah, no.
Not all of them.
Hey, look, sometimes we're the next best thing to a doctor when you need it.
The term is ditch doctor.
Yeah.
When you're laying in a ditch, with the closest thing you get to a doctor.
Not to sound like cocky or anything. I mean,
No,
it's true. Like, sometimes,
just,
I
that's
mean,
what it is.
it's you're in a room full of people who are literally looking at you like, what to do? Like, what do we do?
Right.
And
yeah, because once EMS is on scene, when it's a medical call, we are in control over police, fire. I mean, they assist us at that point.
Well, that's why we have protocols written by doctors.
Yeah.
So we can act as a, what is it?
It's like, like a
An
physician.
extension of the doctor,
Yeah.
maybe.
I mean, the doctor said, if I were seeing this,
Right.
this is what I would do based on,
Right.
this and this and this. So just follow it.
Yeah.
Blueprint.
Yeah.
Y'all started in EMS pretty early, right?
Oof.
Well,
Yeah. Graduated high school 2014. Got my EMT late of 2014. Late part of like December 2014. Got hired on with in March of 2015. So I'm at my 8-year mark in EMS, and it feels a lot longer than that.
where you started working at, Dwayne?
Huh?
Where you started working at?
You did it again.
I did what? I said.
What was the question? Where were we?
So-
How long we've been in EMS?
How long we've
Something
been in?
like that?
Oh.
Because I'm going to segue.
Oh, okay. How long have we been in EMS?
I've been in EMS for 8 years. Started in 2015, and got my paramedic in 2018. Is that what we got our
Yeah.
paramedic? Yeah.
Well,
And
17?
so I was an EMT for 3 years. 2.5 or 3 years, and then I got my paramedic, and I've been one of those ever since.
One of those, yeah.
One of those, man.
Yeah, same. No, I started a year later than you. I think it was in 2016 when I got my EMT. And then 2018, paramedic, same thing.
So
Been one of those ever since, too.
So y'all were fresh out of high school, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'd never
19.
had a job besides this job.
I had one job before that, and I hated it. So.
You did oil field, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, I wouldn't hated it. It was boring. I didn't enjoy it.
Okay, if you could go back, or if like you could go into high school today,
Whew.
to someone either thinking of going into EMS, someone kind of like, should I be an EMT? Or some high schools offer EMT classes. That way they can get like the job right out of high school. What is something you want to go back and like tell, like if you could picture baby Logan or baby Dwayne
I can't.
in the class?
That's a good question. If I could go back and tell myself, it would, honestly, I mean, obviously I would have done things the same way, but I probably would have been like, maybe, study harder, work harder, maybe, because when I got into this, I knew nothing about the medical field. I did not know anything. My dad was a law enforcement officer for like 36 years, and I wanted to be a cop, but my mom was like, no, don't be a cop, you get shot and die. So I was like, okay, I was going to be a cop. And a firefighter sounded lame because I don't like heat, and I was just,
I don't like heat.
I don't like heat. I sweat too easily. So I remember, my mom was like, why don't you be a paramedic? And I was like, oh, yeah, I could try it. I wish I had some kind of, because I've met a lot of people in this job who had a passion for the medical field when they hopped in, and they're, I've seen them, they excel, when it comes to like certain, the A&P behind things. I wish I would have done more research. I wish I would have learned, learned what EMS is before I hopped in, because I was in for a rude awakening. It was weird when I hopped in. It was very, it was life changing, just to say the least.
Yeah, I really don't know what kind of advice I'd give myself, honestly. I mean, I knew I wanted to do medical field, and like you said, I don't know if I'd have done anything differently, but definitely study harder. Do a couple of things different. Maybe consider college, first. Maybe taking a little, not a break after EMT school, maybe just going to college, and especially taking those college level A&P courses, because
the ones we took were so basic.
Yeah, it's more like a survey of.
Yeah.
The ones I had to do, we actually, had a lab. It goes in depth, and it gives you a bigger perspective. It helps you a little bit more, especially when it comes to like pathophysiology, pharmacology. You understand how things kind of work.
I do think EMT is a great job for those coming out of high school. I would say it's for those who can actually hold. Because you meet a lot of high school kids that are like awkward. I was awkward too, but like. Yeah. This job, you have to communicate. You have to be able to relay things. You have to be able to sometimes be in command of things. And I think that's hard for a high schooler to do. So, it is a great job coming out of high school. It was great. I mean, I was like, oh my God, I'm rich, dude. I wasn't. But, from having no job and going to this, I was like, this is great. And the schedule I worked is different from what you guys work. I work a 12-hour 2-2-3 schedule. Oh. So, I mean, I'm off a lot, Wow. I definitely think it's a great job for EMT. I mean, for high schoolers to be an EMT. But like you said, I study up a little bit on what the medical field is, what it means to be in the medical field, what it's going to be like. Because you can go online and find people, I'm going to say TED Talks, but you can go online and find people who talk about their experiences in the medical field and what they went through, what they go through currently. Just, some research on the job is the best thing you can do if you want to pursue the medical field.
Yeah, they have some really interesting things called podcasts now and more EMS based podcasts that you can actually go listen to and see if that's some advice that I would give. You go check that out and see how that feels, see how you feel listening to it. I think anybody can go pick up a brochure from a company or reach out to a recruiter, but I feel like if you find an actual paramedic, somebody who is in the field currently, and find somebody who's salty. Don't find somebody salty, burned out, and they're just gonna turn you away from it. Somebody like myself or Dwayne, even though we say some, we're not like negative, but I'll give you honest answers. And
you find one of us on a bad night, we're gonna take a long drag of a cigarette, like this yeah.
Remember when I was young and happy? Save your youth. No. Yeah. No. I give honest answers and just ask questions and talk to people, network. And like Dwayne said, you are gonna have to break out of your shell. I mean, and if you don't, and you do get in this field, it'll do it for you. It'll break you out that shell. Yeah. So just do your research. Yeah. and study up.
I agree.
Do a ride along.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not with me though.
I remember my first ride along. It was actually with the company I'm at now, and we had nothing good the whole 24-hour shift. For whatever reason, they let me ride on a 24. First time I'd stayed up for that consecutive long in quote-unquote working hours. And it wasn't until about 9-something that night that we had this, I think it was like 16, 17, he got shot in the butt.
Ooh.
Some Forrest Gump stuff right there.
Yeah, it is.
It felt like
Just jumped up and beat me.
But it really, I don't know, I feel like your ride along can kind of mold your perspective, because I went from like, this is what EMS is, and like I'm in an EMT school, I'm paying this much money to just do this, like this is kind of lame, to where I was like, oh wow, this is actually kind of like a decent job. I think that I would have fun doing this. So I feel like even if you do a ride along, you can't base it off of just one. I feel like you have to go on a couple of them.
I mean, my first ride along, I think I said that in the last podcast, I was in high school. I saw somebody impaled with a plunger. If that's not exposure, if that's not enough exposure, that was like a unicorn, man. You know, that's, dude. Well, I wasn't impaled where you think. It's not, you know the story. It's not impaled where you think. That was, yeah. That's a good realistic view of what you could potentially.
My clinical ride times were the most boring post assignments.
Paramedic or EMT?
My paramedic ones were cool. My EMT ones were lame as all they could be.
Yeah.
My paramedic ones were. Remember when I yanked that? I did that manual traction with my paramedic.
Yeah.
That was cool.
And then the flight crew just cut it off. They put an actual traction.
Remember the EMT like opened the door? I was like, "Don't open that door," because I tied it to the door. And he was like, "Oh, I'm like, I just told you not to open the door."
Yeah, I don't know. I had a few good ones during my clinicals. It wasn't until I was, cleared it on my own that the worst of the worst was just thrown at me.
And it's like the most boring. You had only 8 shifts. I did 12 shifts, right?
For what?
For paramedic clearing.
Yeah, mine got cut in half or something because they had a hurricane and it was coming.
Dude, and it was the most boring. It drug on, dude. It was a bore. And then you get out on your own, and it's just the black cloud, the trauma cloud, just surrounds you, and you get put in the. That's why that's why we call each other every shift, because we never know what to do.
Which is also kind of a good thing, though, because you're just out of P school and you still have all those skills that are fresh, still fresh. Yeah.
Looking at 12 lead back then, you're like, oh my god, the axis deviation.
Yeah.
Now you look at it, you're like, what the what is this?
Artifact.
There's no elevation. Is that elevate? No.
Yeah, there's no elevation.
That's artifact, baby.
Yeah, good rate, no elevation. All right. No. We actually look at 12 leads.
Oh. Yes, we read our 12 leads.
I'm gonna do a crew change.
I don't know. Like we could add like what are ways that we as paramedics, like paramedics in general, can because there's not like a cap to being a paramedic. There's a cap, but like you can CCP, FPC. They have the new wilderness paramedic, the WPC. I'm gonna keep talking about it because I fucking want it.
Dude,
there's like the
Smokey the Bear over here.
well, like there's ways. There's the IBCS or IBSC.
IBS. You got IBS.
You know all about that, Dwayne.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's what I think is there's ways you can elevate your career as a paramedic.
Yeah, definitely. Don't stop. Don't ever just stop at just being a paramedic. And I mean, if you do, there's nothing wrong with that. But definitely, always take continuing education serious. Like if you work in a slower area, maybe touch up on some EKGs and skills and everything.
That's a good point. I think we talked about this a lot when we worked for the same company. We, it's always brushing up on your skills, brushing up on that medical knowledge, because I mean, like, it's 5 years since we went through B class. We started in 2017, and yeah, so it's been a minute since. And, you know, and there are days like I was talking about earlier. You know, you'll look at something and be like, man, I don't. You look at an EKG and you're like,
I know this looks bad,
right? But I can't remember. But like, when, you know, that's why it's the best thing to do is always to I don't want to say rejuvenate, but you know, refresh your, yes, good one. Rejuvenate.
Next time I walk out of a refresher class, I'm just gonna. I'm so rejuvenated right now.
I'm soaking with rejuvenation.
Something about strokes just rejuvenates me.
Yeah, no, he's right though. I mean, always refresh yourself. Always take your knowledge to the next level. There's always ways you can educate yourself. Read a book, read an article. You know, I mean, buy an EKG worksheet, workbooks that you can get on Amazon. I mean, whatever you can to learn. And podcast, yeah, you know, and critical thinking. That's what this job entails. Is, you know, yeah, you have your set protocols, but protocols are set for certain things, you know, and sometimes patients have multiple of those things, or they have something you've never heard of that the doctor's never heard of, and you got to treat that, you know, and you got to, you know, thinking outside the box is a big thing, and you should always, you know, refresh your knowledge, always keep educating yourself. Another thing I always like, because I used to be a supervisor back in the day. I was only a supervisor for like 5 minutes, but you know, I used to teach these guys when I was teaching them. That was a horrible sentence. I used to teach these guys when I was teaching them. I used to tell these guys, you know, always use. We have tools. You have a toolbox, right? You have a monitor. You have a glucometer. You have all these different things. You use all your tools so that you can best find the treatment course for that patient, so that patient can benefit from what you've done. Use all your tools, you know, and I think whatever you do, just use your tools. Use, you know, constantly keep learning, keep, you know, whatever, so that you can be the best. Not like in a cocky way. Yeah. But, you know, be the best provider for that patient, for your patient.
Utilize your resources. I feel like nowadays they have so much stuff out there, more than what we did. They actually have programs that you can, you know, provide yourself with additional information and learning, different way of teaching, different, you know, there's just a lot more stuff out there.
Yeah, and you know, this summer I had, you know, I took the FPC course through IA Med, and that was quite the learning experience. Seeing that, it was like a refresher from my critical care course, but also was like mostly a refresher from paramedic school with the environmental emergencies. And, you know, it's cool to learn about the vent because you get in depth with the vent, you know, and it's one of the tools that I love in this job is the ventilator, because it's just such a versatile tool. And I know it sounds weird, but I mean, like, I can BiPAP them, I can, you know, which I can't tell you how many times a patient's benefited that was in, you know, congestive heart failure, or just, you know, they had breathing 35, 40 times a minute, their sats are in the dumpster, you know, and they look like crap. And I put them on BiPAP, and they immediately, you know, they take a turn, they hit that U-turn, and they come back from the brink of death to, I'm feeling a little bit better. You know, and you
major improvement.
Always elevate yourself. If you have a program within your company, or you want to just get your critical care or your flight or whatever, elevate yourself so that you can be the best version of yourself for your patients.
What motivates you to be a paramedic? What motivates you?
What motivates me?
What's your motivation? I want to know. I got a question.
You know,
the tables have turned.
I used to be, you know, I used to think it was about the adrenaline. And maybe what I'm about to say is still the adrenaline, but what motivates me is I have this, maybe this is just me, and you can edit this out if it's stupid, but I have this thing where I want to, you know, obviously I want to save people. That's why I got into the job. Whatever. Right. That's everybody's. Right. But I have this thing. What motivates me every day I'm hoping I could do that one skill I haven't performed yet. You know, like every day I get to work, I'm like, man, maybe today's the day I crike somebody. That's one thing I've always wanted to do. You know, you remember in paramedic school, I was obsessed with criking, tubing. I mean, I still am. But like, you know, I'm always want to do like the next thing. Like I wanted to cardiovert for so long, and I did it like a while back, like 2 years ago. I cardioverted, and that was like the biggest. I don't want to say euphoric, but it made me feel like everything that I learned in class. Finally, it got to this one point where I was able to, from static and dynamic. Here I am now. I'm using those skills in the field, and then watching that patient, you know, they're in SVT at like 2 something, and then this is post arrest, and then I cardiovert them, and then they're a pulse of 70 normal sinus rhythm. It's like the coolest feeling in the world, I swear. And then I always wanted to decompress somebody, and I got to do that actually multiple times now. But yeah, no, that's what motivates me. It's just it's like almost like what Matthew McConaughey said when he won his Oscar. You know, I'm always looking forward to who my hero is, which is me 5 or 10 years down the road. I'm always looking for that next thing to, you know, to push myself, the next call to push myself to do something I haven't done before.
All right.
I get that. I wouldn't say mine so much as it's the partially challenging. Like you're saying, it's partially like, how can I challenge myself in the next one? And this is what I tell people when like I bring textbooks to work or something like that, and they're like, "Oh, you still studying?" I'm like, "No, I'm getting paid to literally either go on a call or sit here and study because, like you're saying, my next patient deserves it." But also, I wouldn't say so much the adrenaline, because that's how I realized I got burnt out, is I was staying kicked up on the adrenaline and waiting for the next adrenaline rush. For me, and this might sound cheesy, but it's the small interventions that get me. My favorite calls are the ones where I literally just start a line, give some Zofran for nausea, and call it a day. Maybe some fluids.
Yeah, Dwayne's talking about the intubating and criking and all that, but you know what one of my favorite skills is? Starting an IV. Well, I'm dead serious. No, because you ever get the challenging ones where, you know, like it's a bigger person, and, you know, or there might be like a diabetic, and it's just, you got to get that 22 in the thumb, you know, like you have to really work for it. And when you get that flash,
those anatomy sticks, yeah, where you're just like,
and then you walk into the ER, and they're like, "You have a line?" And they're like, they don't have a line. You're like, "Yeah, I do." 22 right there. And they're like, huh.
Talk about the best feeling when the patient's
yeah.
like, "I have early veins," or "It's hard possible to get a stick on me," and you get them with like a fat 20 or a fat 18, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're so good," and you're like,
or they have like massive pipes, and you're like, the veins literally like going around your needle, and you're like, "Huh? Yeah. What?" Yeah. Yeah.
Did you answer what motivates you?
No.
What motivates you, man? Money.
Well, my mortgage was due yesterday. I'm joking. It's not the money. No. Man, I gotta say, it is a passion. It's just a passion. This stuff is really interesting to me. I really do like to help people. The opportunity to save someone is nice, but just being able to, like we talked about earlier, utilizing those skills and knowledge we learn, and just, as much as I may complain about it sometimes, just still showing up and just getting to, you know, do an assessment, an interview, some treatments and whatnot, and just being in the medical field is just great. And that's, like I said, just a passion.
You want my honest opinion? I feel like if we got paid more, it would cheapen the job.
It would what?
It would cheapen the job. More people would want to do it. It would be a more sought out field, instead of, if you can last in this field, kind of accustom your lifestyle to the job, but you're still able to do it despite the money. Like, it would be nice, but then I feel like more people would want to do it.
And you're saying that might be a bad thing?
Yeah. Like, we're on a shortage, obviously.
No. I mean, yeah, I see your point. I don't know, but at the same time, on the other hand, though, would it make the people who, like us, actually have a passion and care be even better? You know?
Would it?
Would they stay instead of doing nursing? No, like I'm serious. You know, like if I just feel like this is one of those professions that's been around, obviously, it's been a while, and you know, it's always been the same thing: low pay, getting off late, dealing with BS, all that, and it's always been that. And I feel like if there were some changes that were made, just like we were talking about the whole, you know, Damore Hamlin thing earlier, like the public, just their general knowledge of us, if all of these things would change, I feel like maybe people who have walked away from EMS, it would prevent those future people from, and keeping people to staying in the field. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
I agree. I agree with both of you. But I just wish, my one wish is that we were kind of paid almost the same as nurses, because I know a few nurses, and they make substantially more than us, and they have crisis pays and things like that, and we just don't, in EMS we don't have that. But I agree, though. I agree. Them paying us, it's like this weird thing. It's like this conflict in my own head. Yeah, you're right. If they did pay us more, it would cheapen. It would make it'd make me like a cheap slut.
But like you already aren't. But
Oh, got him, coach.
no. But I mean, you're saying people would stay, but I feel like you really can't do this job unless you really want to be there. Or I say you really want to be there. Something called you to the job that caught your attention, and some people do. Yeah, they walk away and they just don't want to do it anymore. But as far as staying, because I gotta say, like, even if it paid a lot and I didn't like to do it, I don't know. I mean, maybe some people would, but
yeah,
I don't know if I'd want to stay and have to, what did you say earlier? Eat a glizzy behind the gas station at 2 a.m.
Just done CPR,
You just heard those gunshots and you're like, well, get ready.
Like Danny
yeah, the meme. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was like an office job, yeah, whatever. But
Could you really do an office job?
me?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
I feel like you could.
I could.
I think I've known you for a while. I think you're a fantastic paramedic, but I think.
But where's this butt coming from?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean butt.
No.
Decent at best.
You're right.
No,
You can't. Well, look, no. I don't want to put high expectations because then everybody's always going to expect for me to exceed that, and I gotta
keep top
keep.
of our class.
No. Top 10. There were 10. I said top 10. There were 10 students.
I was bottom 15. No, man, but I'm not elaborating on the office job thing, but I just think I know you have a passion. I know you have a passion for the medical field, but you're looking for a way out because of the way EMS is.
Well, it's not only just that. I mean, like, I would like to get into more of like a. I really don't know. I really don't know where I'm gonna go with it, but
I could see you doing like a teaching job, dude. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that either. Because that's.
Teaching.
I feel like it's one thing. It's one thing to. That's another thing about like passion and purpose. It's one thing to actually be able to do it, like help people, save people, provide care. But it's another to teach. Right. Rounds and rounds of people to go out there
you can't
and
teach.
No, yeah,
sorry,
that's
school
great.
rock reference.
Yeah.
As a former teacher, that hurts.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think you just insulted a lot of people.
Sorry.
But no,
teachers, keep doing your job. Teachers are good.
Y'all are great.
I'm going to pursue EMS education, so why don't you take a back seat, Dwayne?
Oh, listen, I just referenced school.
Wow.
I had to reference Jack Black.
It was an interesting stance from me and Dwayne, who are going to, I don't know about Dwayne. I'm going to stay in the field for probably 3-5 more years and then move on, but Logan, you are moving on.
Trying. I am desperately trying. I'll still be a part of it always. I don't think.
You're never gonna let it lapse, right?
No. Well, I work too hard for that, man. They got to bury me with that patch. They got to bury me with it.
The year of madness that we had going through P class, which isn't hard, but it was just tedious.
No, man, it was. I've said that before, man. It was like the best and worst time of my life. Yeah. It was something about like a bonding. You bond with the people there, and.
Our P class was very close. We still are, like me, you, and Tyler. I think we're the only ones that still hang out. I mean, but we still talk to Tanner, and our P class was pretty close knit, and we all helped each other. That was the best part, That's another thing. If for students going through a paramedic course, you're gonna make friends. I think. I hope you're gonna make friends that last a lifetime. I think. Because me and Logan have been friends for.
Since the first day of P school.
First P class. Everybody thought I looked like a douchebag.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was about to say. I looked over and I was like, yeah, that dude's wow, wow. And next thing you know, he's at my apartment in a Hawaiian shirt. Anything else we want to add?
Can I ask a real question?
Yes.
How many times have you guys almost quit EMS?
I have Indeed open on my phone right now if you want. No.
This dude straight up on the way to calls, applying for different jobs.
No.
You did one time.
No, I did one time. No. It's just moments where you're just like, you
Had
good?
a shipper, dude.
I know, I saw that. I was like, man, it's going to V-Field. What a coincidence. A little paracordial bump there. Never done that. Be a first.
Please don't.
Yes. No, it's just, it's happened.
I
But
feel like it's inevitable though.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, you get off, and then you just go home, you go to sleep, and you wake up, and you're like, what was I doing again? Or why is Indeed open on my phone? You're just like, oh yeah, I must have been in one of those fits. I must have had one of my fits.
I've never quit. I've never almost quit.
You went through a little. There was one point
I
where
went through a phase where I wanted to leave the company I was at.
Well, yeah, I get it.
I did went to that phase. I remember I talked to you about it because it was like
you like stopped listening up.
A month straight. I was like, I hate EMS,
yeah.
but I stuck with it, and I think that was just, I've gone through periodic phases of burnout. It always gets better, But yeah, you're right. There has been one time where I was like, I'm leaving this place.
You got it. Then you had to tube. Somebody needed a tube, and you were just rejuvenated.
Yeah, rejuvenated.
My boy was revived
all over my body.
So speaking of crew change, this is typically the part where I start like pushing my chair out, and I'm like, well,
here's the narcs. Your radio's charged.
No. You want a real end it with another crew change. Okay, so Dwayne, truck's good. Gotta roll out. All right, cool. And you go back and look on the phone or the DXT, and it was like 2 codes: a hypoglycemic patient, a septic patient. You had a trauma.
You open the bag and everything
just
happens.
Going there. Everything's good. We replaced everything. Don't worry.
Depending on how this one goes, I know Logan has like one of the top 5 most listened to episodes, so this hits.
Hey.
So if this hits 12, I might do a part 2. Even if not, I don't know, I might do another part 2. And that's all I got. If that's all you guys got.
Yeah.
It's a unit. Logan and Dwayne. Declare to go 10-7.
Negative, Logan. We have a call. God,
If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or future topic ideas, please email me at 22@thelipspodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's 22@thelipspodcast@gmail.com. Be safe out there, friends, and never stop learning. Say it again and the boogeyman will pop up.
Wait, what? No.
A red dot.
No, you gotta edit. Bro, you gotta edit. Maybe you should start over. No, you just hear the bump and the old 1970s hearse just comes flying through my living room. Like, oh! He's at the wheel with Coke. He's like, get in. We're going Narcan. We're going to run down. Transfers.
What did I say wrong?
You're like, I started working for can he say like Canada?
No.
Because it sounds...
okay.
Canada. Something about TBIs gets me all moist.
Oh, please, no. Oh, no. Oh, wow. And this was gonna go off the rails.
Wish you would be here. And the beer.
Dude.
That's the one thing I don't edit.
That's
the intro. That's the intro.
Disclaimer.
That sums up.